Good evening. Welcome to the Foxborough Board of Select meeting for May 21st, 2013. The agenda tonight is citizens input at 7 p.m., 7:05 chairman's update, 7:10 public hearing, UMass home games at Gillette Stadium, 7:25 Michael Johns, veteran agent, status of Crossroads Veterans District, 7:45 Jack Othlet, Roger Hill from the DPW Director, status on repairs in the Common. 8 o'clock, Mike Davison, report on the Racino Review Committee. 8:15, Town Manager Kevin Pecos, status on the sexual abuse prevention policy. Then we will have action, and then we will go into executive session to discuss, to negotiate with non-union personnel. John, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Citizens input tonight. Randy, would you like to address?
Sure, I had a brief item, sorry.
Wherever you'd like to sit.
Randy Scollins, Finance Director. Just wanted to announce that the assessor's real estate database is finally now online and live. It went live on Friday. There was an awful lot that went into that. It was about 4 years in the making. We didn't have a mass appraisal system in the town, and so we went through a process to get best-of-breed product to value property. So we have that, and then we had to scrub all the data because there were data elements that we had to bring in from property record cards, et cetera. So it was quite an exercise, and then we had to create the electronic shape file so you could drill down in the map and actually
Checked
get
it out.
property.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. So just a couple of brief items on it. It is online. You can look up your property online. You can see the assessed value for tax purposes. As I think Chairman pointed out a few meetings ago, you know, the valuations are from a year and a half to 2 years ago for tax purposes. But it gives you a 3-year history as well on assessed value, on ownership and sale price. Each property's valuation characteristics are also listed with the property, along with a picture and a diagram of the dimensions. So it's a pretty robust offering. You'll also find the assessor's database on the home page for now, as well as on the quick links on the home page and on the assessor's webpage. We'll update the database every year after each year's tax rate setting process, typically December, January. There's also very useful information on the welcome page. I would encourage everybody to read that prior to going into the database. There's a neat feature on there. You can create a butters lists as well. There's a way to do that. Pretty easy, pretty intuitive. And it's not official, of course, unless it's certified by the assessor's office. And then if you happen to do an abutters list where you hit upon a property that's been redacted, public safety officials' properties are redacted, you won't be able to get the abutters list, and you'd still have to come here or shorten your radius. The last thing, but probably most importantly, is that now that this information is very readily accessible to everybody, online, we would greatly appreciate, people to take a look at their property and contact the assessor's office if they have disagreement, with the characteristics on their property, which, drives their value. Again, the whole goal of the assessor's department is fair market valuation of your property for tax purposes.
Great. Any comments from the board? No.
Very nice.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for citizens input? Okay, seeing none, short chairman's updates, more of current events coming up. And June 1st, we have Clean Up Foxborough Day with dually disposal, June 1st. If you haven't heard that and you want to get involved, please contact, Dually Disposal. They have a little website up for that.
They have a
already?
website. You can put your name on there and volunteer and sign up right there.
Great, thank you, Jim. And then Founders Day fundraiser, the boot drive, is this Saturday from 7 to 1. Make sure you get your sticker and throw some money in the boot. And also this weekend is Memorial Cup, Saturday and Sunday. It's very busy around town. And the Memorial Day celebration will be Monday. And Bob, does that start at 9?
Parade starts at 9 o'clock.
Parade starts at 9 o'clock, followed by a ceremony on the Common. It's always well attended. We'd like to see you all out there for that. And then Founder's Day is June 8th, and the night before, June 7th, is going to be a 250th anniversary on the Common for the Common Meeting House. Jack, I'll let him show, will fill us in on that shortly. So that's all I have. So being 45 seconds early, can we go? Or we gotta wait to 7:10? Being 7:10, would the clerk please read in the public hearing notice for UMass home games at Gillette Stadium?
It's the motion?
No, it's the
Public hearing?
public hearing notice. She'll always
Oh, there
help
it is,
you,
yeah.
she's the best.
Okay. Hearing notice, the Board of Selectmen, acting as the local licensing authority pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 181, and Section 183A, and Chapter 136, Section 4, Town of Foxborough Revised General Bylaws, Article 5, Section 6, and also Stadium Rules and Regulations, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, May 21st, 2013, beginning at 7:10 p.m. in the Andrew A. Gallo Jr. Meeting Room, 40 South Street, to review the application submitted by NPS LLC for the 2013 University of Massachusetts home games. These events are proposed for Gillette Stadium. Applications for these events is on file at the Office of Selectmen. All interested parties are welcome to attend. Board of Selectmen, Foxborough, Massachusetts. This was submitted by Lorraine Brew, who is the clerk.
Thank you, John. Any interested parties, please come forward. Stadium advisory here. Come forward. Have a seat, please. And once again, as usual, names for the record.
Sure. Dan Murphy with the Kraft Group.
George Bell, Stadium Advisory.
Okay, who would like to start? You, Dan?
Sure. So this is our application for the 2013 UMass home games. There's 6 home games this year. Last year there were 5. UMass's second year in the MAC, the Mid-American Conference. The games, first event is September 7th, and last game is November 16th. There's 2 games in September, 2 in October, and 2 home games in November. Game start time is either noon or 3:30. About 15,000 people estimated. Each home game, we only use the 100 level in the East Club. Tickets range from $10 to $50. Parking lot opening time is 2 hours prior to the event. Parking is included in the ticket. We're not using Putnam Parkway, same as last year. And anything over about 10, 11,000 folks anticipated will park across the street in the P10 lot.
Okay. John, you have any questions?
I just noticed that these games are on Saturdays and the Patriots games are on Sundays. Did you group them just to, concentrate activity on a particular weekend?
We didn't, it just happens that way. In fact, there's only one weekend where there's not a back-to-back event.
Yeah, there was only one, right?
Yeah. And it happened similar last year. These events are small in size as opposed to the full Patriot games the next night.
Lorraine?
Just a question about the indemnification agreement. I don't see it in the packet.
You want to elaborate on that, or you want me to, or the county manager?
Sure.
Indemnification,
Oh, yeah. It's all set. The motion makes the assumption that the indemnification agreement will be signed and then insurance and all that will be in place prior to June 30, as is the case with the other licenses that the board already did for events that are occurring partially in this fiscal year and partially after July 1. So that motion embraces all that.
Didn't Dick Gilliman send an agreement around?
is that the motion?
This is the motion, but it's not the agreement
It's not the
but does this reference that agreement?
I'm not sure if that does, Lorraine?
What agreement?
This is that email that Dick Gellerman sent around that copied the board, the indemnification agreement that we're using right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're asking, John, is it in the package?
Well, is
It's
that
not.
what we're going by?
This would be this is,
And if we are going by that agreement, shouldn't this motion reference that agreement?
I think we're still on last year's, the prior agreement.
Yeah, it does, that the applicant shall, by June 30, 2013, execute and provide to the town of Foxborough an indemnification agreement in a form and substance satisfactory to and approved by the board. That is in the
Okay,
motion.
that's going to be that agreement that
Yes.
Dick has sent around. Got it, thank you.
See Sandra nodding her head, that means yes.
Thank you.
Lorraine, any more?
No.
Jim?
No, that's it.
Jim?
All set?
George, anything to add?
No, we reviewed it, and actually, most of the discussion talked about future security, which we'll be talking about with the Patriots application, but I was very happy to hear from Chief O'Leary that he and Director of Security at the stadium are already working on an enhanced plan based on the new levels that come out of recent local events. So I was happy to hear that, and we recommend for approval based on the satisfaction of the town, public safety people, that the Manning level, I know the fire department's looking at a level 2, which is consistent with the Revolution Games. And Chief O'Leary talked about I guess there are a couple of games that will probably be a bit higher attended. Is it Maine and the homecoming, Dan? Are those the
Yep,
two that-
Maine is the first game in September, so we hope to get a lot of folks from Maine coming down, and then the homecoming game in middle of October.
Right, so, and because last year, there, with the homecoming, there's buses and, alumni, which is great, and just to alert that it's potentially a lot of activity at Patriot Place as well as inside the stadium.
Great.
So, but we voted that, to recommend for approval.
Ginny, something?
If there is a new level of security in regard to the games and that Chief O'Leary would like to institute, could this license be conditional on any new security plan, not a plan that's in place right now, but any additional security?
Well, Jim,
You know.
I mean, Dan, don't you guys usually have meetings prior to the games?
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
it is, Jenny.
So it's ongoing, I mean, whatever is
Every-
decided is...
every event.
is- Okay, good.
That's always ongoing. Okay, anything else from the board? This is a public hearing. Anybody in the audience wish to be heard in this matter? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion. Close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing for the UMass home games at Gillette.
Second?
Any more discussion? All's in favor? 5-0. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, entertain another motion?
I'll make a motion. Excuse me, George. Make a motion. I move that, with the assent of the applicant, that the applicants of NPS LLC to hold the 2013 University of Massachusetts regular season 6 home games at Gillette Stadium on September 7th and 21st, October 21st and 26th, November 2nd and 16th of 2013 be approved, subject to the following conditions. 1, that the applicant shall, by June 30th, 2013, execute and provide to the town of Foxborough an indemnification agreement in a form and substance satisfactory to the approved by this board. 2, that the applicant shall, by June 30th, 2013, obtain and place liability insurance for said events, ensuring both the applicant and the town of Foxborough in a form and substance satisfactory to and approved by the board. And thirdly, number 3, that the physical license for said events shall be retained by the board or its representative and held in escrow pending the applicant's compliance with condition 1 and condition 2 above.
Second?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
It's only 17 past. Do you want to do a few action to make sure, before we do the crossroads, just to make sure everybody's aware that we're aware that everybody here that wants to be involved? So we'll go to action just for a couple of minutes, see if we can get a couple out of the way. So the first one we have is interface, the minutes for May 13th. That was the little meeting we had prior to the town meeting. Lorraine, did you review those?
Yep. Motion to approve the minutes from our meeting on May 13th, 2013.
I'll second those.
Motion made and second. Any more discussion? Ginny?
On the 5 and 6 paragraphs, the amount is $9,975 in both
Okay.
paragraphs.
And just, for the record, just note that the meeting was held at the
Room
Foxborough High School.
Room 105. Anything else? So, motion's made, second to accept the amended minutes.
Right?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item is Deb Jardine, Recreation Director, acceptance donation of $2,000 from the Masonic Lodge to help families who may need financial assistance for their children to attend summer camp program.
Mark, do you want me to make all these as we,
Excuse me?
just want to make all these motions if you want?
Absolutely, you feel free.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I move that the town accept the donation of $2,000 from the Masonic Lodge to help families who may need financial assistance for their children to attend the summer camp program. This is going to the Recreation Department, actually, it's from the Recreation Department.
No, Masonic Lodge.
Oh, it's to the Recreation Department, and
Yes.
again, our gratitude for this donation.
Second.
More discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Again, thank you very much. And Jerry Cirillo, Boyden Library.
I move that we accept donations to the Boyden Library Gift Fund from the following. One, $300 donation from the Foxborough Lions Club. Two, $500 donation from Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare for the Children's Department at the library. And three, a $250 donation from the Foxborough J.C.'s for the renewal pass to the Children's Museum in Easton. Thank you very much.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Once again, thank you very much. Robert E. Raymond,
Is this the one we did
active
last week?
license. It's the one we,
It's a different one?
It's a
Different
different
one.
one.
the other one was about address. This is,
This is just the same address.
well, that's the company address, right?
Oh, this is just the driver, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I move that we accept the Hackey license renewal for a license expiring on May 21st, 2015, in the name of Robert E. Raymond.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0 again. James Oliver. Number 5, renewal.
I move that we renew the appointment to the Southeastern Mass Commuter Rail Task Force for a one-year term expiring on June 1st, 2014, naming James Oliver.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0 again, Diane. Bill Cunningham, Bay Connolly Productions.
I move that we accept the request for a one-day beer and wine license for a stand-up comedy show featuring Lenny Clark on June 1st, 2013. This is requested by Bill Cunningham of Bay Colony Productions.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I just had a, I just,
It is Lenny Clark.
I just had, no. I just had a question. On question 3, it says, if the applicant, a dining hall of an incorporated educational institution authorized to grant degrees, yes or no? What does that mean?
Say that again, Judy?
It says, I'm reading it verbatim, is the applicant a dining hall of an incorporated educational institution authorized to grant degrees?
In other
Yes
words,
or
it's
no?
the dining hall of a college.
No.
Yeah, but this is at, and he says yes.
No, he's wrong.
Definitely not an institution for education. We've had
Maybe
many
that's
of
the
these
joke.
events there.
Is this a
I've never
joke? That's the
picked-
joke, right. Is this a, I mean, I just think that's kind of a bizarre question.
Maybe Lenny
But I mean,
Clark
is it?
wrote it.
I'm sure he,
State law, that's why it's there, it's part of the regulation on one-day liquor licenses.
Okay.
So that's why it's included in the application, it's a question we have to ask. He made a mistake on
Yeah.
that, he does so many of them, but no.
Okay,
it doesn't
all right.
apply to him.
This is probably 4 to 6 of these a year the
Yeah.
board approves, and we've never had an issue, so.
Well, no, that just never caught my eye when I saw the yes answer, and then I reread the question again. I thought, that,
I'll make sure Sandra
Strange.
reprimands him.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0 again, Diane. And David Fisher, Foxborough Founder's Day.
I move that we accept David Fizzler's request to hold Founder's Day Parade on June 8th, 2013.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor? Thank you for correcting the name, I apologize. And number 8, William Casbarra, Building Commissioner.
Is Bill here?
He was earlier, Kevin, do you want to elaborate on this? I know we put it on hold last week, accepting the disbandment of the signed bylaw review committee.
Yep. Signed bylaw committee is an ad hoc committee that was appointed by the board some time ago to look at the signed bylaw and recommend changes to it. The master plan, which is being done by the planning board, is focusing on the sign, on the town sign bylaw, and considering changes to it, also considering if it should be a zoning bylaw versus a general bylaw. Right now, it's a general bylaw. So the sign bylaw committee feels that until that work is done, which won't be later this year or early next year, they don't want to propose changes and end up potentially proposing something which is contrary to what the master plan proposes. So they'd like to be disbanded. Again, they're an ad hoc committee. They're not meeting, they haven't met for some time. But they'd like to be formally disbanded, and then, depending what the master plan says, reformed if necessary, or the planning board may end up giving you recommendations through the master plan. So, until we know what that's going to look like, they don't feel appropriate bringing anything forward.
Any questions?
Yeah, just a few.
Go ahead, John.
So that means anybody that's currently on the signed bylaw review committee, they would just be nullified, and then if they were going to reorganize,
You'd have to appoint a
potentially
new
the same
committee.
people or new people could be appointed.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Any more questions? Okay, John.
Okay, I move that we accept the disbanding of the signed bylaw review committee until the implementation of the town's master plan, when the committee will then reorganize. This was submitted by Bill Casbarra, the building commissioner.
Second.
More discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we only got 3 more, let's get them done. Number 9, Scott Burns, Invitation to Scouts, Court of
Okay.
Honor. It's not a motion on this one, John. It's just
It's an invitation.
invitation.
Yeah, this is from 11 to 4, if I'm not wrong, at Luciano's,
Lakeview.
Lakeview Pavilion, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 11, we'll run about 1.5 hours, followed
Oh,
by
that's
lunch.
just the ceremony.
That's just the
but-
ceremony, then
Oh, that one.
into the
Yeah,
cookout after that. It's exciting that he's actually getting this. I've known the child since kindergarten with my daughter, and good for him.
Is he 15?
16, I
16,
believe.
yeah,
Might even be almost 17. But
16.
I'll try and get there. I'll be out of town until that morning, very early, but I will try my best to get there. Is anybody on the board definitely going? Lorraine, Ginny, and Jim?
I will get there, but it'll be around 2 o'clock in the
Just
afternoon.
in time for the food?
Absolutely.
All right. So it seems like we might have a quorum there. Kevin, post a meeting. No, I'm kidding. No, that'd be great. I know everybody here attended, but myself, the couple this weekend. Thank you very much.
And that was duly noted by Senator Timmelty.
Yes, as he usually throws me
Actually, it
under
was
the
Barrows.
bus.
Oh, Barrows, I'm sorry.
Timothy, he
So,
came late.
you know what, you can't be everywhere, so. That's an invitation to all, and hopefully we can all make it. And number 10, Chris Montalto, Mass Electric Company, request for pole relocation. Any questions on that?
You want a motion?
Absolutely.
Okay, I move that we accept the request by Chris Montalto of the Massachusetts Electric Company for installation of a pole in a 4-foot by 6-foot concrete foundation on Chestnut Street across from pole 931.
Second.
Any more questions? All those in favor? 5-0, and then proposed selectmen's meeting schedule. Did anybody get a chance to see if it conflicts your birthday, first communions, anything else that's coming forward down the road? Or do you want to just take it under advisement? And I mean, nothing stood out to me that was going to be conflicting to me, but
The only suggestion I have is before town meeting. We usually meet every week. And it seems like the last couple of years, we end up meeting every week and adding it in there anyway. So why not just put it on the schedule if we know that
Jimmy, you're saying that should be the month of April?
Yeah, we got-
I think we did that this year and last year and the year before.
Yeah, we've actually added quite a few meetings this year. I think we probably had 18 more than were scheduled originally.
Yeah, but those are kind of sporadic when
Right.
we get overloaded. But the ones before town meeting, we always have, we can always cancel a meeting. But what I'm finding out is people didn't know we had the meeting because it wasn't on the schedule.
Okay. Anybody have an objection to that?
Add one, April 22nd.
I think that's a good idea.
What about school vacation week in February?
That's, let's see, that's the beginning of, that this vacation would start on the day before the 17th or the Friday, if you want to get official. I don't have any objections to it. Everybody, Jimmy, you got a young,
Were you saying canceling one of
the
the?
18th,
I
maybe
think we moved it this year. We moved it.
want to move it to the 11th, possibly?
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a meeting that's not during school vacation.
Okay, so move the
People that
18th to
come
the
in.
11th. And we'll add one for the 22nd of April. Anybody else conflicting? John? Okay, so do we need a motion for this?
No,
Okay, all right. All right, thank you.
they're not actual meeting postings, we just publish the calendar.
Okay, all right. Just running right on schedule here. Next, we have Michael Johns, the Veterans Agent. Anybody else that wants to come forward to discuss the status of the Crossroad Veterans District? Hi, Michael.
Good evening, how are you?
Good yourself?
Thanks for inviting me.
All right. Obviously, for the record, Diana, Michael Johns.
Michael Johns, the Director of Crossroads Veteran Services District.
Okay. How would you like to start, Michael?
Well, did you have some questions out of the gate, or do you want me to just give you a kind of a timeline rundown of where we've come and where we stand now? I'm not sure what your intention was when you put me on the schedule.
Just to get an update on, well, at that point, I don't think it was disbanded at the time we asked for the meeting, was it? So I guess now it has been disbanded?
The four towns have, three towns have pulled out of the district, so,
Okay.
yes.
So,
Actually, from my point of view, I'd like to know from this day forward, how do we move forward? If you have any plans or suggestions, or you need help with it.
Sure. The district is in full effect through the end of this fiscal year. So we remain, Heath Hobson and myself, remain the two VSOs, so we're still understaffed as we have been since November, trying to pull off a closeout of the fiscal year. We had asked for some temporary help the evening before Mansfield pulled out of the district. We were told that there was, use the money the money in the budgets would be looked at to get us some temporary assistance to help us close out by the end of June, which is a difficult time of year for us. So anyways, we're still shorthanded. We still have work to do. While everybody's looking to, we're all gone our separate ways, we're still in the trenches doing our thing. It's been a long and difficult process. It's been an experiment, one that should have succeeded. And what I want to do is, I guess, leave you with some lessons learned, if that's okay, in case this process is ever revisited, so that we can do it better. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay. So about 17 to 20 months ago, there were initial meetings with the four town managers, and I was invited to attend those in the initial search and looking at the concept. There was a lot to be gained. There were a lot of obstacles to jump over, but one thing that I noticed is there was some disagreement on the initial setup of the district, and I think that has come back to haunt us in the end. And I think I'll come back to that as a lesson, as we move forward, if we ever should enter discussion of a district again. What I mean by some disagreement is two town managers that at that time were the employers of the VSOs, namely Kevin Pecos, my direct superior, and Bill Ross, who was the direct superior and town manager of Mansfield, of John Hogan. Yes, thank you.
You can keep it.
I thought it was water. So, so I mention that because the disagreement that started was not personality, not fighting, but it was how to set up a district. And the state does provide us a way to do this, for towns to collaborate. And that is, you put the employees into a district structure, and that district structure builds the towns. So Kevin and Bill Ross felt this is the way to go. And the other two town managers were happier with, you keep your employees, you pay them, you do the upfront costs, and then we just pay you later. So somewhere along the line, the Mansfield town manager, changed. So Kevin ended up, kind of being the lone man out with, I think wanting to line up with exactly what the state lays out as guidelines, as a statute to do this. So we go ahead and we start the district. We're off and running. We've got 2 employees. We've got a director who was a couple of years from retirement, 2 years from retirement, and was probably put into an uncomfortable position. But he made his position known. He didn't like the idea of a district. He didn't want anything to do with it. But the Mansfield town manager's position was, if we're doing a district, it's my guy. Okay? So we went into it with that. Okay, so that was another, I guess, problem that I saw that came back to, definitely to haunt us. We hired a third VSO. We got up to full staffing. We had a little bit of clerical help. And then fast forward to November of last year, our director took a fall down a flight of stairs, took a serious shoulder injury, which put him out of commission for 5 months. And I think the way we started with the director, and I mention this stuff because it does directly apply to lessons if you go back to a district in any form, whether it's veterans or not. The director at the time, okay, John Hogan, this is my office, these are my things, you don't need access to my computers, you don't need keys to my office, those sort of things. That worked okay until he was out on injury for nearly 5 months, okay? When he came back and retired on the day that he returned, we weren't any better off. And it was a struggle to get keys, to get access, to get computer, to get files for people we were currently serving, okay? People that he had started claims with. He didn't remember a lot of what had gone on, as I probably wouldn't either if I was out in the hospital and away for several months. But I guess for that reason, I would want people to be able to jump right in and do my work, to carry on. So, plus and minuses of a district. Pluses were that we lost an employee. That could have been me that fell down the stairs, okay? We lost an employee, but services never stopped. All 4 towns kept getting services at a decreased level, but nobody stopped. So that's a big plus. One of the succession plans, one of the reciprocation, mutual aid sort of benefits of a district. The downside I just mentioned, if everybody's not fully in on access, to files and et cetera. So here we are in last month in April. It had been 7 months that we'd been short-staffed, and Easton, who had been rattling their saber a little bit, but I didn't take them serious. I didn't think they were going to pull out. They had been discontent. Our director had been covering that town, and we all have our strong skill sets and our not so strong skill sets. He struggled to win over a town and a veteran population that didn't want anything to do with the district in the beginning. I think it was achievable. He did not do it, and he was absolutely unwilling to let someone else cover that town, which I think was a big part in Easton eventually pulling out. There were other factors, there's finances, whatever. Easton pulled out last month. The district was not done. We still had a strong district, 3 towns committed to this district. The price of services would have gone up a little bit because now it's 3 towns splitting services, and we would have gone to that third person that we were going to hire, just a part-time hire. Price would have gone up a little bit. Hours would have been spread, not quite so good, but still a strong district. And my recommendation was and would continue to be, let's keep our eyes open for a 4th partner, because it made sense. That was April 30th. We sat with the 4 town managers, the district representatives, all appointed by the individual town boards of selectmen, and an agreement was reached where the town managers would agree on salaries, which became a central issue for quite some time, basically from February to April, on not necessarily just the number, although that was part of it, but who sets the number, who sets the salary rate, and who makes the appointment of the employees. So this is important. It was critical. I think it killed us in the end. Had we stuck to what Bill Ross and Kevin Pecos had initially said, this is what the statute allows in setting up a district, there would have been no question. The district board, which these are the 4 people that represent all of you and the 3 other towns, they have a democratic process to do that, to settle it. But there was some contention, so at that meeting, what happened was that there was an agreement where the 4 town managers would get together, agree on what would be reasonable salaries for the employees, and they would bring that collectively to the board, the district board of 4 members. They would vote on it and either accept, reject, or amend it. Just following that recommendation, the district board voted unanimously to go with that. And then about 22 hours later, Mansfield pulled out. And I learned that in the Chronicle the next morning. I was shocked. I called Kevin. He was shocked. I called the town manager and the district rep in Norton. We were all shocked. So that's where we are. Future, Foxborough is going to be fine. What I need is, I have an appointment from a district board. Before July 1st, I need an appointment by the Board of Selectmen to continue my services or to bring my services back here to serve Foxborough only. So that will be the one thing that continues services. And then we haven't skipped a beat. We're in good shape. The veterans, the community should know that my salary is not going to cost any more than it did before we went into a district. The services will be no less than they were in the district, and we should be in good shape. In fact, I think Foxborough came out of this least harmed of all.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions from the board?
Just one, so are there cases in motion right now where you're helping a case in Norton or helping a case in Mansfield, and how are all those going to wrap up? Or are they going to be messy to wrap up?
No, they're not going to be messy. And yes, there are a lot of them. We have a lot of cases between federal, state, and local work. The 2 of us have got a ton of work. The way it's going to wrap up is June 30th is our last day working in the district. July 1st, the state is cutting off access, complete access to Heath Hobson, our other employee, and myself. That means I won't have access to work in Foxborough or the 3 other towns. Heath will not have access to work in any of the 3 other towns. Until an appointment letter is sent to the state, then we'll get access for that particular town. So that's what will not let us have a lapse in services. So I guess the message and the letter was sent out. I saw copies of them to the other 3 towns. Your services to the district, your help from these employees ends June 30th. Bang. Hire somebody full-time or join the district. So It's messy in the sense that there are a lot of people left hanging. The human side
That
of
was
it.
my question.
Yes,
Yeah.
the human side of it is very messy and tangled. And there are a lot of people that have developed relationships, and, trust is big. With traumatized veterans coming out of combat, to build a trust is a long process. And then to get dropped, as sometimes does happen when you're separated from your unit, say medevaced out of a combat zone, and then come back and start building new relationships. That part of it, the human side of it, is going to be really messy. The technical, the legal side of it is very clean. The state has said crisply, you guys are done.
So what'll happen after that date, you'll pick up all of the Foxborough caseloads?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
that's correct.
Is that Sean?
I'm all set.
Oh, I just had a question. Crossroads had applied for a grant.
Yes.
What's the status on that, and what will be the status? Have you received the grant?
No, we actually, in late February, I think it was the last week of February, we received a letter that we did not receive the grant. What it was a Challenge Innovation state grant, and there was $4 million available to apply for technology to enhance districts and regionalize the approach within the state. So we had applied for $192,000 to enhance technology, to bring on consultants, to actually solidify us as a district and bring us to what Bill and Kevin were initially envisioning, which was a full-fledged legal district, not a hybrid anymore. And so we did not get that.
Okay, so that's a non-issue.
That's a non-issue. That was something we were going to reapply for in November, but that grant pool was cut back after we had applied from $4 million to $2.5 million, and there was, I think it's about $25,000 given to one place out west for a veterans initiative.
Okay,
I
thanks.
All set,
You're welcome.
Jenny?
Yep.
Jim?
All set?
I have
All right?
a couple of quick lessons if you want me, but if I've run out of time, that's
No, I
fine too.
thought you were done, Michael. I apologize.
No, that's all right. I had this one sheet. I just want to run down just some thoughts that I had that I thought were worth sharing with the board and the community.
I just ask one quick
Yes.
question. Are there any funds related to this district that will need to be distributed as a result of it ending?
No, actually, there are no funds in the district
Okay.
because a pure legal district was never fully established. There's no money in the middle, but at the end, there's going to be bills going out, particularly from the town of Mansfield and the town of Foxborough for our services rendered and our overhead.
Would that be reimbursement from the state bills, Michael, or directly to the town?
No, that's reimbursement from the member community towns. So a lot of that reimbursement will actually come back to Foxborough, which was part of the initial plan and the math to become an efficient, eventually a cost savings system.
Okay,
The
great.
salaries for the employees are budgeted by the respective towns that hire them, and then back-billed proportionately according to a formula we agreed on. The Chapter 115 veterans benefits are paid directly by the member communities from their own budgets.
And then 75% of that's reimbursed by the state.
Correct.
Okay, great.
Correct.
Continue, please.
So these were thoughts I had for myself. Choose partners wisely, ensure compatibility and trust. Comply with the law, period. Ensure all partners, participants, staff, advisors know the facts. Recognize and prepare for the complexity of a multi-town collaboration. We knew it was going to be complex going in. It was much more complex than I realized. Doing it again, my eyes would be a little wider. Give new districts, processes, teams, and systems time to mature and succeed. This is something that we didn't do. We wasted a year. We had someone whose intentions were good, whose service was honorable, but who didn't really fit the bill as far as directing a district, a multi-town district. And so we really, because of the complexity and because we wasted a year, we never matured. So what we had is a wasted year and then several months to try to get going. It didn't happen. Need to let things mature. Start off firmly, start off with the right staff in place, and realize that district staff may be different than town-alone staff as far as management, complexity, financial complexity. There's just more to it, and I know I'm speaking mostly the obvious. I guess this is a note to myself. Speak up early regarding concerns and ensure resolution. I guess some of the resolution between what I saw in the paper one time was cultural differences. I don't know what that means, but I would say maybe philosophical differences or maybe just approach differences. Next time around, whatever kind of a district, those need to be ironed out early because they did, in a way, come back to haunt us. Identify assumptions and revisit them. What I mean here is, I think that 4 towns, 4 boards of selectmen, 4 town managers, a couple of VSOs, and a lot of people assumed savings and better service. And I think those are good assumptions if it's staffed properly. Those needed to be visited in steps along the way to see, are they bad assumptions or good assumptions, and then move from there. Don't rush or be rushed into partnership. What I mean there is Easton and Norton were in trouble. They were in extremis because they shared a VSO. And we found out through having 2 VSOs cover 4 towns for the last 7 months or so, you can't do it in your hours, and you can't meet all the needs, and it's frustrating, and it brings you to the breaking point. So those 2 towns shared someone who retired unexpectedly. They were in extremis, but what made it worse is one of the towns kicked the can a long ways down the road until the state said, you will do something now. So there was an opportunity for us, there was an opportunity for Mansfield, but I think that their urgency shouldn't become our emergency. Okay, I mentioned establish a real legal district. You got to be either all in or all out. Kevin said it firmly. I believed what he was saying. Bill Ross was on the same page. At some point, he changed and thought, no, halfway in, maybe save some more money. Well, I think it wasted more time. Establish the district board before operations. I think that's important, and that's something that I guess I didn't see coming. It's the state gives you the steps and the some guidance on establishing a district. They don't give you quite as much on here's how to run a district. And I firmly believe now that we should have an up and running board before we started any operations. Focus on the core mission, effectiveness, then efficiency. I don't think the focus, especially from some places, should be efficiency first. And then, well, if we meet the mission, fine. I think over here, I think we did a good job of staying focused on the mission. Get veterans involved in the dialogue and process early. That was something that we did very well. And if we were ever to approach this again, it's something we need to repeat because we had veteran buy-in from the onset. Okay, the district board formation and the hiring of a director, that's going to set the compass for the direction of this system, of this district, and that needs to be established early. I believe the board should be veterans. I believe the board should not be selectmen, and the reason I say that, the selectmen are the ones that are the elected officials, and they are really the decision makers in this whole thing. And it's important that they choose the right people to be the representatives, to represent the town and the veterans in the district. The problem we had was we had 4 towns and 4 different Board of Selectmen meeting nights. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday were out. And it's hard to schedule, a district board meeting on Fridays or Saturdays. We struggled with that a long time. So I don't think it should be selectmen for that reason, for the scheduling reason. They're already busy. Some districts use the town managers or have the boards appoint the town managers as the district reps. I've seen that in other districts go well, and in some districts not so well. If the town managers are on the board, they're the reps selected by the Board of Selectmen, then I still feel strongly that at least one person on that board should be a vet. And at least one person on that board should be a non-town manager and non-Board of Selectmen. There's a lot of reasons I feel that way, but I think that sets you up for success. Centralized admin might have been something that served us well, yet a satellite services. So all towns are getting services, but bring back the administration, the funding, that sort of stuff to one location. And then, if that's done, then I believe that that district, moved away from the towns, that central district, should adopt one town's benefit plan, one town's bylaws, one town's wage plan, and use that town's treasurer. And then you're not building bureaucracy, you're using what's already been built, and it's consistent for all the employees in that district. And then the last couple of things, the district vision should be published early on, as well as the mission and the goals before operations. And then if the parties can't agree on the above, then I would say we, as a party member, should go no further.
Thank you, Michael. John, anything to add?
Just a question. If a district could meet all those conditions, are you still a proponent of districts? Do you believe they have, in our future, I don't know when it's may happen again, but do you believe they could bring more value to your services?
Tough question to swallow tonight, Michael.
No, it's not actually. With 2 out of the 3 employee slots filled in this district, we kept the boat afloat. We made things happen. If we had ever filled, and I got to tell you, my coworker Heath Hobson was the absolute best partner you'd ever want to have. He's a combat injured veteran. That's not what makes him good. He's dedicated, hardworking, honest as the day is long, quick learn, smart, highly intelligent, and empathetic. If we had a third person like that staffing this district, absolutely. I would be in favor of joining a district. I think we could get the mission done better. I think we would have a succession plan for when I retire, for when I'm sick, when I'm injured, when I'm on vacation. The succession, the duplication, I think there are a lot of benefits. In addition to, you get highly experienced and trained staff, as opposed to the high turnover rate in a lot of places where you get somebody, they come in, they learn the job, and like in Vietnam, by the time they learn the mission, what they're doing, they get pulled back. And there's a high turnover in my profession. So that would help with that. And then down the road, through working smartly and efficiently, then that's where the cost savings come. So yes, I would,
Okay.
if it was done correctly, yes, I would
That was
support
quite a
it.
long list of things that you would recommend, but
Right, and the reason I put that is because the other 3 towns, as they pulled out of the district, as they withdrew, they all mentioned, this doesn't put it out of consideration in the future. And so I would imagine that, it's got to be on some people's thoughts here. Even if we're gun shy now, if people are thinking about it, I want to put out these lessons while they're fresh in our mind. Yes, I would support it. I'm very happy to come back to Foxborough, work here, have less migraines, and get back to business here, but I wouldn't put it out of consideration for the future.
well, thanks for that summary. I think that's going to be helpful.
I think so. John, is that it?
I'm all set, thanks.
Lorraine?
Great summary, appreciate that, and I think, these types of consolidations are always very difficult, whatever industry you're in, because someone always has to be the lead, and it's hard for people to give up control. It's just a natural aspect of that, so I think your points are really well made. Thank you.
Can I comment on one thing you said, which I should have hit before? Control. Having that district board as the body that makes the decisions takes that control away from one town manager. And we did struggle with that. The town that had the director thought they had control, and they really did not recognize or respect that all 4 towns had a buy-in. And I think that was important, and I think that's something that crippled us for a long ways.
It is, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Jim?
Just something that's been bothering me from, and I commend you, you're very adaptable and you're changing and you're going forward again. But when we say we're doing this, or any town is doing it for better service and to save money, isn't it the case, and I go back 3-4 years ago when we were looking at Walpole, the reason that we were doing it is because, if you want to call it an unfunded mandate from the state, based on population, you needed to move into a full-time VSO position, whether you wanted to or not. Is that correct? So was that the catalyst for all of this, that the state said you need to expand to a full-time, and if you didn't, then it gave you the option to consolidate with other towns? Is that how this all started?
That's partly correct. What happened was that, what you said is correct, as far as towns over 12,000 population have to have a full-time veteran service officer, director of veteran services. And full-time means covering at least all the hours that the town hall is open. Usually it's 40 hours, which is more than some town halls are open, more than this one, or join a district. The one thing that I think we in Foxborough didn't realize for a long time was that was always in place. It's always been that way, but there was a grandfather clause that somebody who was in there part-time could stay in there part-time until they retired. So, had Carl retired 10 or 12 years earlier or whatever, we would have had to comply with it back then. So it wasn't a new mandate.
Okay. So out of the 4 towns, obviously we're over the 12,000. Any of the other 3 towns under the 12,000?
No,
Population?
actually, no, we're the smallest town of the 4.
We're the smallest. Oh, okay.
Right.
So, okay. So they don't need to do this again to get a full-time. They have full-time, they're staying the way they are.
They are in the
Towns
process.
are very provincial, and it's very difficult for one to
Right.
reach out to the other unless they have to.
Right.
So I'm just looking forward, a few years from now, is there another catalyst that would say Foxborough has to do this with Walpole or Plainville or Mansfield or what? So we could keep the way that we're doing it, fund it, and keep moving until something changes.
Absolutely. And that law hasn't changed for a long time. If I get an appointment letter to continue my services June 1st and beyond, there is no need for any change. I do my job, veterans get serviced, I think everybody will be happy. If they're not, someone will hear about it, probably you guys first, and then I'll hear about it. And,
George?
I'm sorry, July 1st. Yeah, July 1st. So there's no other change needed. So if it's in the best interest of the town to stay as a single town VSO, then there's no change needed.
And I think that was what I was getting to. I'm looking 5 years, 10 years down the road type thing, so.
No, and I don't think there will be any change on that.
Okay. Thank you, and thanks for the time that you put to debrief us, I guess, if you want to call that.
Thank you.
Ginny?
Well, yeah, thank you, Michael, for the information you provided. It's been very good. But it's also, I think, reassuring to the veterans that we still have a very good veterans agent in place. And with the letter that, or your reappointment, whatever technically has to be done, I think we can reassure the veterans and their families that veteran services will be provided in the same manner that they have been provided for the last few years. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you. And, absolutely, people should be reassured that, I'll actually be spending more time here than I have over the last, since the director was injured in November. So they'll see, if anything, an improvement.
Sean?
Kevin, do you draft that letter and bring it to the Board of Selectmen so that we can approve it at our next meeting? Can that be done?
I'll have to check. I wasn't prepared for that question,
I'm
Mass,
just curious on the
but
mechanics
I can
of it.
check the Manager Act and find out who the appointing authority is. I was.
The board.
The board is. So, yeah, in past years, Sandra has drafted a letter for you.
Okay.
Brought it here.
Sure, we'll have that for you in the next agenda.
Okay, great.
It's normally either a 1 or 3 year
And
appointment.
Michael, I'm sorry, but Keith's last name?
It's Heath, like the candy bar, H.
Oh,
Heath Hobson. And if there's a town out there looking for one dynamic, terrific veteran service officer, they should contact.
So basically, you would be the only employee of the town at this point moving forward, if
That-
appointed?
That's correct, in the Veterans Department.
Because I've met Heath before, I'm sorry, I didn't hear, I thought it was Keith.
Yeah.
I've probably been calling him Keith for months now, I apologize.
Just for clarification, can I ask, you had said that you've been cut off by the state in regard to veterans' information. Is that the Crossroads community, or you as the agent from Foxborough?
Oh,
So right now you have...
June 30th, right?
Yeah,
So
'cause
as of June 30th?
as of June 30th.
It's not as of the date when the other three towns...
No, absolutely not.
June
And
30th.
and the other towns, they still get our full services through June 30th,
Okay.
and they still pay their full fee through June 30th. And what is being cut off by the state is Heath's access and mine to the state computer system that we use to track cases. So we would not be able to cut another check for a veteran or provide them assistance in that way, because Crossroads District will no longer exist. So we don't have an entity, so I have to come back and be an employee of the town of Foxborough again.
Right.
Okay. Anything else? Michael, thank you very much. I can tell it's been a very emotional climb for you. I can tell I've known you a long time, and you know what? We appreciate everything you do. And the veterans
These you're
do.
talking about the wrinkles, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know,
Got them all in a
that
year.
and marriage, right?
Hey.
Thank you all for your time.
Hey, is it proper for the board to make the appointment now for Michael? Since it's our call,
Yeah.
we're making a motion now. Will we entertain a motion to make Michael the veterans agent of
Or
Foxborough?
should we know the particulars?
I don't think it's that, I don't
Well,
know.
I think you're presuming that, one, you'll take it, the salary, all that stuff is the same, but I don't mind, emotionally doing it, and I don't think there's any reservation on the board to do it, but I think it precedes the paperwork. I don't want to put you on a spot for us to appoint you and then find out it's not satisfactory to what you need, and we put you on the spot. Does that make sense?
I'm perfectly happy to wait or do it, I don't care. What's going to change really is not a lot. I'll go back to the old salary that I had here, which is, determined from whenever that was. So I will take a pay cut. I recognize that, I understand that, and the emotional strain that goes along with that is probably worth it.
Okay. George, want to come up to the mic?
I just didn't want to put you in an awkward
No,
situation, that's all.
I'm fine either way.
Keep Josephine?
Oh, I think we can do it, but I think it's good for the mechanics to, I don't mind waiting.
Thank you, Mike. George Leonard, Foxborough, 3 Aldrich Road. The first thing is I believe the vote should be taken here to just enjoy themselves, the town of Foxborough, with the Veterans Crossroads. All 3 other towns have taken the planning boards, the Board of Selectmen have voted to move off of it. So before you want to hire somebody that is still being paid within the Crossroads, I think you should declare yourself as removing yourself from the board. You're the last member of the Crossroads.
The board agree with that statement?
I don't think there is a crossroads for us to disassociate ourselves with. It's gone.
The regional agreement provides that members of the district must notify the other members of the district prior to May 1. So May 1 is already come and gone. If there were a district left, if there were other towns in it, we couldn't withdraw at this point. We would, and the reason is because the budgeting is already done. That's why that provision was put in. In fact, Norton's vote was really ineffective because it came after May 1. It was purely symbolic. Mansfield and Easton votes occurred timely according, it's actually 60 days prior to June 30th, which I believe occurred on April 31st or something like that. So we couldn't withdraw. But as a practical matter, the Crossroads Veteran District ceased to exist the moment 3 of the 4 members indicated they weren't there. Norton, their vote was symbolic because the statute, Chapter 115, provides that members of the district must be geographically contiguous. As the only 2 remaining towns, Foxborough and Norton, we are not geographically contiguous. Therefore, we cannot form a district. So even if, technically, if we were contiguous, Crossroads would exist for another year because Norton did not take the vote in time. as a practical matter, it ceases to exist, so there is no vote to take.
Any other questions from the board?
Unless you want to do it also for symbolic value, and I don't know.
Anybody want to be
why you would.
symbolic? I'm not in the mood. Okay.
Mike, just before you, I didn't mean to cut you off, I just
No.
didn't want to put
No, I
Mike
understand
in
your
an awkward
position, but I can,
But if there's a benefit with Memorial Day coming in, giving some confidence that we're moving
we'll put
forward.
that on the agenda for the next meeting, Kevin.
Yeah, I think what I have to do for you, Mike obviously would have my recommendation. I think he's an outstanding VSO, but I want the opportunity to sit down and talk to him about the salary, because I don't think it's as straightforward as might be represented. And so I want the opportunity to sit with him and talk and make a recommendation back to the board on what the salary should be. I don't agree that he should go back to where he was a year ago, where the salary was at that time, because had he not been the district VSO in the interim, his salary would have changed. And so I don't think it's fair to say, well, oops, sorry, you're going to go back where you were. So that's what I think he and I need to have a little discussion about.
Okay, will you guys do the math?
And I appreciate Mike's candor and honesty, but I just think that has to get considered in fairness. He has to be brought and made whole to where he would have been had the district not been formed and he had been named the director of it.
Okay, one more, Bill? Bob, sorry.
Well, you want to
I'll bring the mic to him, James?
get up?
Bob is, while he's getting up there, I'll just introduce him. Bob is the chairman of Foxborough's Veteran Services Advisory Committee, as well as the initial Foxborough representative. He was appointed by this Board of Selectmen initially when the district started, and then after his extended surgeries, he asked to withdraw, and the board withdrew him, and then elected to appoint Paul Duma to be the follow-on appointee. So, Bob Selectman.
Watch that chair.
Thank you. I just wanted, as Foxborough's representative for the board for the first 6 or 7 months, I'd just like to thank Mike and Heath for their work that they've done since November. They have both been putting in 50 to 70 hours a week to keep this district up and running. And I will say that that's one of the things that I feel that this district failed, was that the district director was against this district from the beginning. And he, in my opinion, and some of the other members of the board, he did everything he could to make this district fail. We had talks with him many times. The board did to try to get him to start acting as the director of the district, and that never happened.
Okay.
So I do want to just really commend Mike and Heath for their work that they did. They've been remarkable, and I, as the Veteran Services Advisory Chairman for the town and our veterans, we definitely, think Mike needs to stay on here as our Veteran Services Officer.
Well, I think it's pretty much, if you can read votes like I can, it's pretty unanimous. I think this board wants Mike and the town and the veterans to stay. And I appreciate everything you've done. If I could change topics for 1 minute while you're here. We've got an exciting Memorial Day celebration plan. Can we get positive now? And
Absolutely. I think he's up here also to make an invitation.
Yeah. I do want to officially invite all of the Board of Selectmen to the Memorial Day celebration. The parade will start basically kick off at 8:45 in front of the American Legion Post, and kick off the parade officially at 9 o'clock. Approximately 9:30, the parade will finish at the foot of the Common. We have I think we have a great keynote speaker. 4 years ago, Pat Mitchell, just before he went to the United States Military Academy at West Point, was our keynote speaker for the Memorial Day celebration. He graduates the day before Memorial Day from West Point, and he will be our keynote speaker again this year. one day after his graduation as a second lieutenant in the United States Army. So I think we're going to have. I think it's going to be a great celebration for the veterans, and we'd like to just invite all of the board, and I know this is going out over the air, so I'd like to just invite all of the citizens to please come, show your support for the veterans, and please come out for the parade and the celebration on the Common.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, next we have Mike Davison and some of his committee members from the Racino Review Committee to make a,
No, we
no?
Get the
Oh, I'm sorry,
repairs on the
Jack
Common.
Arthurlet. I jumped one. Jack Arthurlet, Roger Hill, DPW Director, status on the repairs in the Common. Thank you. You're always on it.
Sure.
Hey, Roger. Dave.
How you doing?
Jack, how are you?
Good.
As usual, for the record, need everybody's name.
Dave Lalaberty, Tree and Park Supervisor.
Roger Hill, DPW Director.
Jack Arthurlet, Town Historian.
Okay, gentlemen, who would like to start?
If I could start, I could probably clear up a lot of your issues right off the bat, Jack. I know you had some issues with the tree that was planted, the tree on the Common that we replaced right across from the bandstand.
Yeah.
Jack had questioned when the tree was going to be planted on the Common. We had planned to plant that tree last fall, or later in the fall, but then Hurricane Sandy kind of left us a little bit behind, so I planned on planting it this year first thing when we could get out, and of course, winter was a little late for us, so we only got out there probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. So in the interim, I had flagged the tree at the nursery, and when they pulled it out of the ground, I went and got it, and has since been planted, which was probably like 3 weeks ago. As far as the monument that you're looking for, that used to be on the old mailbox island across from the Historical Commission, when the state did the center of town, that thing is just lost. It's not to be found anywhere. I've looked everywhere. I don't ever remember getting it in my hands. So if you can have one made up, I'm glad to put it at that tree.
I have all that information ready to go. I could order that in the morning. What it was, the tree when planted in front of Memorial Hall many years ago was in memory of Lyda Bristol, who died in 1976.
Mm-hmm.
So when the downtown revitalization came, somehow the tree was taken down, and we've never seen the monument since, the marker. So finally, I spoke to Roger about a replacement. I said it can't be just any tree or any old location. I mean, this was prominent space, and as luck would have it, a tree had to be taken down right opposite the bandstand on the Common. So this tree is now in that honored position. So I could order that plaque.
And we bought the tulip tree.
Yes,
and
which was her favorite tree,
her
as it
favorite
turned
tree,
out.
so, I mean, that all worked out well.
But also, that program we have on the Common Friday evening, June 7, at the start of Founder's Day weekend, celebrating the 250 years since we first erected the Meeting House prior to becoming a town. We're going to dedicate that tree that night, so we can have some members of the Bristol family there and just make it a special occasion for them.
That'd be nice.
So it's nice to have it back.
What time are you planning for that, Jack? Just so
7 p.m.
7 p.m.?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
On the, another issue you had was the lights up there. 3 weeks ago, this is all part of my normal spring thing that I do on the Common. I kind of go check the lights, the benches, and that type of stuff. 3 weeks ago, I had replaced all the glass in all those lanterns. I went up there Monday this week after all the activity on the Common, and there's like 4 or 5 panes that are broken again. Well, I've been in contact with Common Help for Hire.
Right.
I gave them the glass, and they're replacing the panes while they're cleaning your globes.
Yes, they've been up there all week.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they're gonna do the chimneys and the lanterns.
So-
There's one lantern down at the bottom of the common that the door is gone and a corner post is gone. I've never I was gonna ask you if anybody turned it in to you. I've never seen it.
Fortunately.
Yeah, so we're gonna have that fabricated. I kinda went on the web myself and was trying to look for some channel so we could do it ourselves, but when I talked to Common Help for Hire, they got somebody that can do that for us, so.
Yeah, but
they're
at least
gonna
we can
take care of that.
we can get it illuminated and then.
Yeah, it's
eventually get it
illuminated,
on.
it's all, you really wouldn't notice it unless you stood right there and looked at it. So the lights are all being taken care of, and all the low voltage lights around the memorial, they're gonna take care of those. So that's all done. The granite post that you had over near the post office that unfortunately got hit with the loader when we were hauling snow this winter. What I did with that is I had one more granite post left down at the highway garage. It was a line post, so it has holes on both sides. I put that in there temporarily until we can come up with some granite posts. So that's all set. The barrels were done probably 3 weeks ago.
Right.
For the flowers. I had been in contact with the garden club before. I just got this letter on Friday, so I didn't even know any of this was going on, except for basically the common fence.
Yeah, there's
So
a-
the barrels, I called the garden club up and said, hey, you know, there's like 7 barrels.
No, that's done under a separate program, but once I saw the barrels returned with dirt in, I then notified that they're all different volunteers. The
Right.
garden club does
Yep,
2 of the
and I
barrels.
notified them
Yep,
too.
right.
Also that
Yep,
we had put the
so
barrels
they're-
up there, put the
they're all
dirt in
set,
there.
and,
We bought the barrels, we bought the tree, you know, it doesn't come out of the common
Yep.
fund or anything, so that's all set. And last week, I went up there and I fixed all the benches. Any slats that were broken, any cement that was degraded on the legs, I replaced everything, so all the benches are all set. The common's been mulched, it's all been edged. I'm just kind of waiting out towards the end of the week to get a final mowing for Memorial Day. Now we can get to the common fence itself.
Right.
Roger and I have been working on it for probably 5 weeks. The issue we're having here is a lot of the small foundries just don't exist anymore. So we're having some trouble. We have a guy that's kind of picked up all these small foundries that's working with us, that we're trying to get somebody that will be able to forge that common fence for us. As the purist you are, or I know you want it in cast, and I would like to see it in cast also, because I'm sort of a purist when it comes to that common fence. I've been the keeper of that fence for 40 years, you know. But as a guy that fixes that fence, we're looking at a few other options. We're looking at aluminum, maybe. You're gonna paint it. That way, if it does break, we can helioc it. Mild steel, something happens to it, we can weld it. The cast is so poor nowadays that you can't weld it, it just blows apart on you. It just explodes when you're trying to weld it. You can heat it, you can do anything you want to do with it, but you just can't weld it back together anymore. But those are just options. We even looked at like ductile iron to see if, because there's some flex in that, because obviously in the wintertime, you know, this granite post might go up here, this one might lean that way, so you got a little pressure on that fence. There's 3 sections right now that are broken. I don't have any sections to replace them with. I have one section at the garage that I'm saving in case a car goes totally through, that I can replace the section with. We talked to the people from East Jordan today. They have found a foundry in Connecticut that might help us out with this.
He's coming up to visit us on Thursday morning, and he wants to look at the pattern.
The thing about, I also wanted to let you know about the Whitman Foundry still exists. That's where we had the fence forged the last time or for years. What happened with Whitman Foundry, the last time we had the sections forged, I couldn't get the pattern back. They were using the pattern, obviously there's another fence someplace close by in Connecticut, and they were forging off of our pattern for that fence. And it took me like 6 months to get that pattern back. And I ended up finally just going there and forcing the guy to get the pattern out. He told me it was in a good storage place, it was hermetically sealed, it was across town, it was in a beautiful building where it wasn't getting hurt. Well, come to find out, it was in a pile in back of the shop. And when I picked it up, it had holes in it. The casket, you know how the casket is around it, it was all caved in. Took it back to the garage. It was missing one of the corner scrolls. Actually, what we did with that is we had one forged over the summit out of aluminum, and we blended it back in. We epoxied all the chips on it. As you know, I don't know if everybody knows, but that pattern that we have was hand carved by Archie Hanna
Right.
in like 1972, 72.
Yeah, he worked on it 71 and 72.
Yep.
So that enabled us to make new sections of fence exactly as they made the originals in 1857.
And without, that pattern's priceless to that fence. So I really have an issue of sending it back to Whitman Foundry. So we've been trying to work around Whitman Foundry and find something else. The other problem we've been having is to find a granite place to make those posts. Fletcher doesn't exist
They're
anymore.
out of business.
They're out of business, and, you know, we've got, you know, calls out there, we've got, you know, feelers out, we're trying to get somebody that can make those posts. And if I recall, back when we had the last sections made for that fence, they were around $2,000, $2,200. Well, we need, like, right at this point, there's 3 totally broken ones. Pieces, chunks missing out, but there's cracked ones. It's like, we're gonna need like 8 in order to have a stock, you know, that if something happens. And there's probably 8 granite posts. I'm guessing you're talking that job there, we were trying to figure it out. One of those granite posts have gotta go $2,000, $2,500, you know what I mean?
But now, some of those posts that are just split,
Yeah.
but they're still standing,
Yeah.
can they not be pinned?
I don't know how you pin them to get them to stay in there, you know? That, you have to take the whole fence apart, you know? Is it
Right.
worth pinning them? Or you want it to look good, you don't want it to be all crooked when it goes in there. You know, we had thought about that. I'd thought about trying some kind of an epoxy on it, but realistically, in order to do it right, like we did back in 72, when we did the whole side
Right.
along the firehouse side, it would be nice to get the granite
Right.
posts.
Now, if I may, one thing that has to come out of this loud and clear. Trent Park Department in this town of Foxborough does an incredibly good job on that common, as your guys did on Memorial Hall the other day. I mean, they came in and absolutely manicured the grounds and trimmed all the things, and I've been working with Dave on the common matters since 1971, 72.
72, yeah.
And I have nothing but the greatest respect for him and the guys. And when we were illuminating Memorial Hall, how many times did you bring the cherry picker up
Yeah,
there in
a
the
few
night
times,
so that
yeah.
we could,
So you
well,
could-
move the light this way a little bit, try that light, and he'd been fabulous. But now, here we are at this point in time, we're talking, well, number one, these fence sections aren't going to be repaired for Memorial Day. They're not going to be repaired for Founder's Day.
No.
We're also talking the possibility of fabricating sections out of different types of metal. Now, I brought up the subject of those broken sections September 14, 2012. Now, you
See
got
that in this, because I
you
just
got the letter
this, yeah,
yesterday.
yeah. Well, Friday, last Friday.
But back then, Roger came back very, very quickly saying they had trouble with the castings and they would really like to go to a substitute metal. I pointed out to them with the deepest conviction that what we did on that common in 1971 and 72 was one of the greatest outpourings of citizens in this town that you've ever seen. Now, the fence had been injured, broken numerous times by cars. The metal was brittle. You couldn't weld it anymore. And Al Truax, highway superintendent, came to me as editor of the paper and said, would you support me at town meeting to get some money to get a new section of fence, a new pattern to make fence sections? And I said, Al, we need new fence sections, we gotta redo the common, we gotta get back to standard. But I won't support going to town meeting. In 1857, that common was laid out, as you see it today, by a people's effort. Private citizens coming forward saying, let us do this for the town. Now, I'm a great believer that we should use history as our guide. So when we come to 1971, 72, we repeated that citizen effort. And you would not believe the clubs and organizations, little kids having neighborhood fairs, everybody doing something to put money into that fund. And from that fund, Archie Hanna came forward, did build a pattern, we covered his expenses, but then we had enough money to put in the replicas of the lanterns, and even enough money to take the temporary name tags off the World War II tablet after all those years and make it into a bronze casting. So when it was brought up last year, both Roger and Kevin mentioned disappointment in the castings and the need to go to alternative types of manufacturing sections of fence. And I just said to me, I think this is just a violation of what the people wanted so badly and spent so much money to do. I mean, we finally had to ask people to stop sending in money. That's how generous they were. When that story broke cold turkey to the community on a Thursday morning in the Foxborough Reporter, Dick Legee at Foxborough Federal was going to collect the money. When that bank opened that morning, the line was already out to the sidewalk and going down the street. People wanted to put money into that. So I think we have a matter here of the people's trust. I think that we have got to find a foundry somewhere that could make these castings. And I just wish that if we had really put ourselves into this back in September, we'd have some repair work done there by now.
That, when you, it's just my, when I look back and I've gotten these sections before, maybe 6 at a time, 4 at a time. If a car's hit a section, you get another one. Those things, they take a long time. You're not talking like sending that pattern over here today and getting it next week. You're talking months. And that's an issue you have there. And it's the same thing with the granite posts. See, back in that day, Jack, we built up a little stock of the granite posts. We had like 6 or 7 extras that we had because we had the money to do it, and we had the extra sections of fence built at the same time. But it's all gone, and now it's going to cost a lot more money, to bring that back. And also, everybody here's got to understand that fence is a labor of love to put back together. It's got to be done by hand. It's all manpower. There's no backhoe digging a hole. Those granite posts have to go back in. The only thing we do with the backhoe is we pull the post out and lay a post back in the same hole. We crawl in the hole, dig it out with the shovels, put 5 or 6 guys on the sections because they weigh like 400 pounds a piece, and that's how we put the thing back together. It goes back together, physical labor, and it takes time. So even when we get the materials to put it back together, it's not something that I'm going to be able to send my guys up there for a month to work on. It'll be, okay, it's a rainy day, we got a little bit of time, let's go put a post in, let's fix a section. So, that's the way it'll have to work nowadays, because, I'm just like totally overloaded with work right now,
Jack, can I ask a question? The existing fence, the part that's not broken, does that have a natural life to it? Is the weather going to corrode it? Or are other elements just going to fail over time?
Well, there's still some sections there that have been there since 1857.
Yeah,
And it's still in good shape?
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
but if something should break that section right now, it's so brittle, you can't weld it, you can't.
Yeah, those sections
You
explode.
can't do much with it.
if somebody bumps them when they're parking in their car, they
That's the reason I
explode.
was looking for alternatives.
Yeah,
merely
but,
for
you know,
maintenance
gentlemen, the decision here a while back was we weren't even gonna go down that road. I thought we had decided we were just gonna stick with the original, like Jack said, his convictions were wrought iron, so we need to stay focused on wrought iron.
Cast
You know,
iron.
Cast iron, yep.
Cast iron, sorry. So that's where we should be putting our focus, never mind alternative, in my opinion, alternative steels or aluminums. And then as far as, you know, it's been a year. We haven't even kicked the ball yet. Roger, I thought we were gonna have some quotes a couple of weeks ago on a Friday, and that's what you told me, and
We had the guy come in, we asked him to search and find a foundry that could do this. He got back with Whitman Foundry first,
Mhm.
and David's really opposed to going to Whitman
Right.
Foundry. And then I got the call this afternoon at about 4 o'clock, or actually an email from the guy in Connecticut. And he's the guy I'm hoping is gonna be able to cast these. He's coming up here Thursday to look at the pattern. We'll probably, you know, go ahead with him if he's, at least get a price out of him.
now, as far as the pattern goes, maybe I'm not correct, but you take a section down, make a sand cast.
We don't have to take a section down. The pattern is in a coffin, it's probably as big as this
full-size
table.
Right.
It's a full size
Oh, it's
of,
made out of wood? or
made out of
something?
wood.
Made out of
wood.
It's
and
laid on a
plastic, lot
piece
of
of
things
plywood,
together.
two sides. There's
Yep.
two sides of pattern. It's in a giant coffin with metal straps, and it's all secure and safe, and that's
It
why
is
it's.
now.
So
it is-
that one-
That's why you can't just, it's like I said to Jack, that thing is crucial to that fence.
Right.
That's priceless.
But
It's
one side
all
of
hand
that
done.
pattern gets pressed into the sand
Sand.
in this big box here. The
Yep.
other side pressed into the sand there. The two
Oh.
pieces are brought up and hot metal poured through
poured into
the
the
top, and it
compactor,
goes
yeah.
down into the cavity caused by that mold going into the sand.
Yep.
That's exactly how they did it
Yep.
Right.
back in 1857.
Right.
I am not one who stubbornly clings to any dogma, but this, to me, is one of the greatest examples of people coming forward and expressing their sense of history to this town. And, I mean, I've got this, all these faces going past me here as I think back of the people who worked so hard to make that happen. And I just hate to think that we're gonna give up on that process that we try so hard to preserve. It isn't easy, it's not, my God, don't talk about it being the least expensive way, of course it isn't. But how many sections do we have to replace? I mean, we got a lot, and we got backlog now, but I mean, in the general run of things, how often does one get broken? If somebody does come through the fence, do we get an insurance claim out of this thing?
Sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes we don't.
If it's under
But,
25,000
Yeah.
in damage, then the check, we're allowed to spend the check immediately on the damage that was done. If it's over 25,000, it has to go to town meeting for a procedural vote.
But no, I mean, Dave, over the years, good grief, you and I have been through.
Yeah, and I
all
agree
kinds
with
of
you,
things
as,
about
you know, the
plumbing.
cast iron, you know, that would be my thing also. It's just that, you know, as a guy that fixes it, it's not crazy to kind of look at other ideas sometimes. We don't even know what it was gonna cost, you know, as far as I was, when I was talking to Roger, I said, as far as I'm kind of a purist on that fence myself, you know what I mean? And I know how you are, and it's just, I know it's heavy, I know it's hard to work with, and we've done it for years, and, you know, I kind of have a thing with it too, so, you know.
Okay, so we got that clear, we're gonna go with wrought iron.
Opposed to that.
Okay, that much is clear. Kevin?
Yeah, let me just reassure Jack and the board and the public, I don't remember ever expressing any opinions about the fence, because I don't know anything about, I wouldn't know aluminum from cast iron if you put it in front of me. But in any event, let me make this clear going forward. We're not gonna do anything down there unless Jack approves it. So presumably, we're gonna find another foundry, we're gonna do these castings just exactly the way they were done. We're gonna have to get some money to buy a bunch of these, I think. And that's the way it's gonna be, and that's the end of the story. Now, if for some reason that can't happen, then there'll be a discussion with Jack about what do we do and these other ideas. But I just want to reassure everybody, Plan A is we find a foundry, we do these castings exactly the way they've been done forever. We, thanks to Dave, retrieved the mold, so we're in good shape there. Just so there's no ambiguity going forward, okay?
And just so everybody knows, when we first started looking at this, the first place I went to, I said, let's call the foundry over in Brockton. Been there for years. They do manhole covers, they do all kinds of castings. And it turns out that all the foundries in this area have been acquired under the umbrella of East Jordan. East Jordan's a worldwide firm, and they do castings. And their guy is the guy who's searching out one of the foundries they control to be able to do these castings. That's what he's doing for us right now. He's finding a place where they can do them. And the guy in Connecticut seems, at least on the surface, he might be very interested in doing these. And we'll find out Thursday how interested he really is. And then if we have no luck there, we'll just go looking for another foundry under the same guy, because he hasn't stopped looking.
I'm gonna pull the mold down, I'm gonna open it up so that this guy can see it. It's like, it's almost 9 feet long, it's 8'6" by like 32, so it's a hunk of steel, you know what I mean? And a lot of these places aren't dealing with stuff that big anymore, you know, so it's an issue.
It's like the blacksmith shop is an out of the past, it's like the stonemason,
Yeah.
but
you
there
know,
are
it's in-
people out there, there's people out there, we just gotta find them.
Yeah, you gotta find them.
It's interesting, that patent is so many inches larger than the fence section because the metal shrinks as it cools. They had to allow for that in the making of the patent, I mean.
And I don't know if you remember, Jack, but when we first started putting it in, those first sections of fence were like a half an inch too long to fit into those, between those posts, and we couldn't figure it out for the life of us, and then Archie went back and actually readjusted the mold, and we ground our fingers off trying to get the fence to fit back in there, you know, we took grinders and grinders and grinders, I can remember doing that for weeks.
So recreating the physical form of the fence for making the impression in the sand, some pieces were wood, some pieces were made from castings of chunks of fence that had been broken over the years, and he would make plaster castings of those, and poor Mrs. Hannah went without the use of her oven for days on end because he was cooking a common fence post piece in there.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing.
I might also say though, Mark, that one of the other issues is the stone. The posts, we had a post get hit at the north end of the common about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And Bartlett Consolidated, under insurance, acquired a post to replace it.
Prorated?
It doesn't look right. They actually measured the base of one of the old posts, but then when they built the new post, they tapered it all the way from the bottom where it's in the ground up to the top, and they're not tapered.
The
that way.
tapers comes from the top of the ground from 11 to 10 inches.
10 inches at the top.
From the ground level to the top. They tapered it from, those posts are 7 feet tall.
And the other thing
They tapered it the whole length of the 7 feet.
So it doesn't really look right.
So you
And it
couldn't.
doesn't fit right either.
You couldn't use a post like that in line.
You could only
You can
use
use
it
it
as
on
an
an
end
end,
post.
but you can't use it in line because it's gonna be too narrow. And the
Then the
pieces
other-
will
Well,
flop in
when
there.
you say you're gonna make, are you contacting quarries or are you contacting gravestone companies?
Quarries.
Contact a gravestone company, like I told you, they'll make anything.
We can do that.
They made the monuments for the 9/11 memorial.
The reason we went to the quarries is that's where the post came from. The original post came from Fletcher, and the replacement post came from Fletcher. And Fletcher built every bit of granite in Massachusetts for many, many years. They're out of North Chelmsford, and they got a huge quarry up there.
I'd
They're out of
contact,
business.
no,
Family business, gone.
I understand, everything evolves, but there's Morrison Briggs, they made the 9/11 monument, I think they can handle those posts,
We'll talk to them.
you know?
Yep.
Any questions from the board, because we're gonna move on.
Obviously, this is going to take a long time to complete the project. Is this something that could be completed like before next year's Founder's Day, and so that this could be part of next year's activities, a rededication of the common, or the same way we're celebrating the Meeting House this year.
If we can source them out and get them cast.
Yeah, it's all about how fast can somebody produce this stuff, I think,
Yeah.
as far as us putting it in, wintertime is.
We get 4 sections.
Well, those sections, that wouldn't be the issue, it would be the issue of all those granite pieces, those
The
are,
thing
that's
is,
a tough.
the other thing you gotta
tough
know about this
nut to
is
crack there.
this fits very tight together, and in fact, when they put 2 sections together between the granite posts, it takes the whole tree crew to push the 2 sections in to get them straight, and then you have to tie them,
You have to.
put the clamps on.
It's a
and
job, it's a job.
It's a tight fit, but that's why it's lasted since 1857, because it's so good, it's well made.
But after 2 whole years of that Save the Common effort, and we finally got
Sure.
the fence, we got the lights, we got all the things. And the very, very first time, the first night that those lights were gonna come on in the common, my wife and I had to be out of town on a family thing, so we got back to town very, very late, and we're coming up Main Street. We could see the lights, so there we are, like a couple of kids dancing down through the middle of the common celebrating. Now, by the time we get the common fixed up again, my dancing days are down to very, very.
Oh, you'll be able to, come on. We'll both dance through there if we ever get it done again.
I think the short answer is, we can certainly make that the goal and
Yeah, we
work to
can
that
try.
as the goal.
You all set, Jim?
Yeah, just, I don't want to belabor, one quick question, David.
Yeah.
A lot of times, you look at the pictures and you go around the common, a car pulls up to the curb because it's a 30-degree angle, and by the time that they hit the curb, the car or the back of the pickup is gonna hit it.
Yep.
What about wheel stops preventative, just put some wheels, I know they're, it wreaks havoc in the winter, but put wheel stops on the parking spaces.
We haven't had that.
Heck of a lot cheaper.
Since that tall curbing's been put in there, years ago when it was the low cement
really
around there,
bad,
we had a lot of issues with that. But, since they redid the center of town and you got that high granite, I think the cars bumped that before they,
You think so?
before they ever
In the
hit the fence.
1960s, it was a killer,
The
because the
60s,
cars were getting longer. and
Yeah, it
were
was
reaching right over
terrible.
that curve.
And the cars are shorter, like he said,
Yeah.
with
The only
nose
thing
to
that hits
wheel.
it now is when we get 29 inches of snow, the loader operator gets it once in a while.
Well, let's not let the same guy who was doing it last year operate around the common this year. Any more questions from the board?
Guys, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a good evening.
Two. All right,
Thanks, Raj.
running behind. Mike Davison and his casino committee, would you come forward, please?
Mark, I'm just gonna catch Jack for a second.
Okay, great.
I corrected, I was told to correct the grammar in my handout, so I did that and corrected it. So there's a couple spelling errors, so I apologize up front, and better handouts.
Okay, Mike, just for the record, yourself and your committee have to,
Yeah, my name is Michael Davison. I am the chairman of the Racino Review Committee.
Janet Kennedy.
Bob O'Rourke.
Bob's my vice chairman, and Janet's a member of the
you want to
committee.
keep handing those out, Michael?
Yep, working it. Sometimes I can only do one thing at one time. Here you go, John.
I got one here.
You got one?
Thank you.
Okay, the purpose of tonight is to,
You have one more?
no, I don't, sorry.
That's all right. I used to have one.
Purpose is to give the progress to date. We met with the Plain Ridge developer the last Tuesday of the 30th of April. They're proposing 1,250 slot machines, which is the legal limit for slot machines under the provision. They are proposing no hotel space or entertainment facilities to go with this. The developers are the local racetrack owners, and there's no change in plans with the retirement of the prior Plain Ridge developer, whose name I could not spell and did not bother trying to in this out here. We engaged the town planner to review the Plain Ridge traffic study, and they've engaged the local planning board, the MAPC, to look at the effects of Plain Ridge on the development of Foxborough. They expect that to begin in early June when we get some more information. Sharon has also been very kind and put together a table of proposed impacts on the town, and I might add that she's been very helpful in this effort. We have drafted the RFP to hire an outside consultant as we were tasked to do, and we delivered that to the town manager on the 17th of April. We've begun analyzing. What we're doing is we're trying to get competing streams of information so we can get as much information to you guys as possible. So not only will we get some from the outside consultant, but we're also independently looking at the impact of Twin Rivers on the community of Lincoln, Rhode Island, its surrounding communities. Janet went down there on a recon mission to Twin Rivers, and she has a couple of things she wants to say about that.
Okay. Good evening to everyone. I took a trip to Twin River a couple of weeks ago, and I will tell you my findings. I went all the way up Route 123 to Twin River. When driving, some places had traffic, mostly South Attleboro, because that's where BJ's is, and the little mall, and people going to where the Christmas tree shop is. When I got to Cumberland, Rhode Island, no traffic. I went up the roads, 123, which is like Lincoln Woods. I went this way years ago when I took classes at CCRI. All the houses are still around, plus the farms and the stores and the eating establishments. Everything is in good condition. I didn't see anything run down. Before I went into Twin River, I pulled my car down the street and went looking to find people to see if they had any complaints. I found a few people and asked questions. No one had a complaint about traffic or crimes. They all said Twin River has had no problem at all. That was established like in 1947 as the horse track. So I went down to Twin River and tried to make a friend who would give me some information. I found someone who worked for them for about 25 years. I'll just call him Joe. Joe told me they only give out free soda, coffee as drinks on the floors of the slots. They have 4,700 slot machines. They will start to have table games, soft opening in June, big opening probably in July. Right now, the Rhode Island Lottery is in charge. When the table games start, the Rhode Island State Police will be in charge. They go by the host laws and the tip laws. All the servers have to be certified in tips. They have retired state and police officers at all entrances to make sure no one underage is allowed in. I walked the floors and everything was in orderly. Nobody was acting up. They have people who watch everything going on. When I pulled into the lot, there were a lot of Mass cars and Rhode Island cars. I did play the slot so I could get the feel of the mood of the people and their reactions. Mostly seniors, some my age. Everyone was having fun. I didn't see any streetwalkers, any kids being left in cars, or people stealing. Twin Rivers is by 146 and 295, but it is by people's houses, unlike Plain Ridge, that is on a state highway.
Thank you.
What we're doing, the second half of that is we're going to create a list of questions, send through Kevin and the Foxborough department head so we can get an aggregate of the effects of Twin River over time, the effects of, say, any criminal activity, drunk driving, any negative effects, so we can map that over time as the Twin Rivers has been developed, so we can have some idea of the effect of what a Racino would do to the surrounding communities. Understand it's not a one-to-one mapping correlation in the regards that Twin Rivers is somewhat bigger than what Plain Ridge is proposing. And again, they're going with table games. And like I said, Twin Rivers has entertainment and it's a little bit more of a larger complex. However, it will give us an insight as to some of the effects we may have in this town. That's our next step, and it's where we're going to start working on probably next Tuesday. We did review, it was very helpful to review prior research and gambling reports that were done when they were looking at putting a horse track across the street from the stadium. And the one thing that really jumped out at me, and you can see, is that prior reports call for establishing social services for problem gambling prior to the establishment of a gaming hall. It's one of the three things, sort of give in advance of one of the three things we're looking at that may impact this town. It's probably the hardest to measure, but there does seem to be an overall effect that, when you put these kind of facilities and the slot machines, the problem gambling does seem to increase. Or as I put it, it doesn't like grow up overnight. What it does is it makes people who are sort of predisposed to that kind of addiction to sort of, it gets worse. We attended some Plainridge and Plainville meetings. There's more coming up, as you can see, and we spoke with several members of the Gaming Commission. Bob's been leading that effort, and the only thing I can say about that, and Bob could probably speak more eloquently than I can, but they appear to be changing their mind almost weekly.
It comes down to every time I send them an email with a list of questions, we get a new draft of whatever whatever our email suggestions are or questions are. Then 3 or 4 days later, we get a new draft of different things that we've addressed. So it's an evolving thing, and I think it's going to take a long time before they realize what they're going to do. It's very interesting.
Great, thank you.
The next steps, we're going to work with Kevin Pecos to finalize the consultant RFP. He promised me he would get that done in the next couple of weeks. And we're going to interview the interesting consultants once the responses are received. Again, we're going to formulate our questions, work through Kevin and the department heads so they can ask their counterparts in Lincoln, Rhode Island, and the surrounding communities what the effects were to their towns and their communities, so we can have a good effect, again, over time of what a gaming establishment could do to a surrounding community. Some Plainridge community meetings coming up. One's coming up tomorrow. The consulting's findings will be presented. I know myself and Janet's going. I think Bob may also be going. So the three of us will be going to that. And then Monday, June 17th, the Plainville Planning Board is meeting to discuss a slot permit. As far as the slots update, the timeline for the Plainridge development, and this is all preliminary, as Bob indicated, the situation is fluid, and talking to various people, include the developer, the situation seems to be slipping somewhat to the right. For those of you who aren't familiar with that term, it means the schedule's advancing, or the dates are slipping to the right, or it's getting later and later. June, they want to execute the host community agreement in June. The town referendum right now is tentatively scheduled for September 10th. October 5th, they submit the Phase 2 application, and that will include who the people are for the who they consider the surrounding communities to be. The Mass Gaming Commission awards the Category 2 license in December 2nd, and if they do win, they plan on opening in the fall of 2014. There were 4 initial locations, Plainville, Raynham, Foxborough, and Worcester, but the Foxborough Selectmen have refused to negotiate with the developer, so now we're down to 3. Having said that, my committee operates under the assumption that Plainridge will be built. Therefore, we don't spend any time speculating on, well, is it coming here or not? That we just assume the worst case scenario, and that way we can better prep for you and can give you better advice as to what the town should do. The potential effects in the town, thus far the committee we have 3 leading candidates, or horses, if you want to use that pun. That pun wasn't intended. Traffic, DUI, and social effects. To be perfectly honest, the effects of these are unknown at the time, and they may not be large. Or, as we're discovering, they may be masked by other developments in the vicinity of Plainridge. Sharon Watson was good enough to point out that there's a proposed Madison Street development. They're going to put a market basket in there and a shopping mall. So that the traffic going to that will be much greater than any traffic that was planning for Plainridge. So, in DUI, it's hard to say, really. There's a couple different things going on with that. Clearly we have an issue in Foxborough with Patriot Place. There's some issues there because they have a lot of liquor licenses. The developers seem to be fairly serious about keeping the DUI. They're fairly serious about keeping the DUI problem down to a minimum, because they are the same people who own the track now and are going to continue operating the track, and they want to keep their reputation. But as I said, also there will be some social effects from problem gambling and that kind of thing. And that's our report up to this far. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Jim, anything?
Just one quick question, and thank you, guys. I know you took our request seriously, and how many on the committee? Nine, 8?
No, there's now 6. One has resigned due to, she was overcommitted, although I still need to get a resignation letter. But one has resigned, so there's now 6.
All right, well, thank you all for, I know you guys have been meeting frequently and reaching out to the developers and the other towns. What are we expecting, or what are you expecting tomorrow when you say the consultant's findings? I know they looked at a consultant to look at the regional, local traffic.
I really don't know. This is just going to be an information gathering phase for us, where we're just going to see what they're going to present as to, they have some reports published, and I have not had time to read them, but we're just going to gather the information and report that back. My guess is it's going to be, this is the effect on the town, or this is what the different effects on the town are going to be. They don't seem to have done much to the surrounding communities. They did present, or the developer did go to Mansfield, North Attleboro, and I believe Rentham. And the quote was, he went to the town managers of each 3 towns, and the quote was from the Plainville town managers, "Who is this guy and why is he here?" We seem to be the only town that's taken a proactive stance as to what the effects are going to be. We're just going to gather some information and see what it is.
Okay, thank you very much.
I don't have a better answer for you. Sorry about that, Jim.
Yeah, the consultants that are meeting tomorrow, are they going to be are they the traffic consultants?
I believe they are I believe they are the consultants, the general consultant for the town as to what the effects are on the town of Plainville if they put slot machines in there. Similar to, how do I put this? Similar to, okay, not to bring up a bad subject, but if they were going to build a casino across the street from the stadium, we were going to hire a consultant to see what the effects of the town were going to be.
Yeah,
That was supposed to be the same thing.
You're right, Mike. They're the general impact analysis
Yeah.
consultants.
Okay.
So,
I was just wondering, I know one of the concerns, the town of Foxborough was the Route 1 area, especially when there's Patriot games or there's activities at the stadium that we all know can block, tie up traffic. And the concern of people that I've spoken to is that people coming from the north direction south on Route 1 are going to see all this traffic, and then they are going to start GPSing other ways coming through the neighborhoods of Foxborough, and that was a concern. And I was just wondering if Plainridge had asked for the concerns, and if you had submitted that kind of scenario that they could maybe work on. Because that's probably the most important thing that people are concerned about.
Right. I live off Spruce Street, and I have that concern myself, and
Yeah.
I asked that question, and he didn't really seem to care. The developer's representative said that that wasn't part of their overall problem. It had, it was more of the town of Foxborough and the town of Plainville's problem. Because I said, have you ever been down Miramichi Street and gone over that one-lane bridge? And he said, no, I haven't.
Yeah.
And I was, I said, okay.
Yeah, well, maybe a written concern
Right,
submitted would.
Well, I came right out and asked them if we were going to be considered a host community.
Yeah.
Or a surrounding community. And he said, you'd have to prove that to us.
Yeah.
So we have to prove to them that we do deserve to be on that list.
Mhm.
And we can petition, once they submit their second phase of the application, if we're not on there,
Mhm.
we can petition it. And then we get to present ourselves to the state, and then they make a decision.
Yeah, are you presenting that would be, the town would be presenting
Right,
yourself through the selectmen or in conjunction with your committee?
that's correct. What we would do is we would make recommendations to this board, and you would present, and you would either act on those recommendations or not, as to whether we are a surrounding community or not. What we're trying to do is build a base of information, at least have a factual, objective-based study so we can say, look, this is why we think we are a surrounding community, and this is the effects of the town, and this is the effects in the town. We're trying to do that in an objective, rational fashion. We did talk about the effect of stadium games, of stadium day, or excuse me, game days on traffic. They do shut off some of those side roads. They do limit access to that, and there's clearly one of the comments they said is our business goes way down on game days. It's just you can't get in or out. So that was they just considered those lost days. However, Bob is correct. There will be an impact to Spruce Street and the South Street and that entire region of town. Preliminary reports that Bob talked to the chief of police, and he seemed to indicate that was going to be a serious concern. And like I said, it's not only a serious concern for the gambling, but there seems to be a good deal of development that's starting to happen in that region.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what happens, whether Plain Ridge gets, in my opinion, whether Plain Ridge gets the license or not, you're still going to have a traffic issue.
Yeah.
Which is kind of unfortunate, but that's the way it is, I think.
No, I noticed I had the opportunity to, of necessity, getting off from 495 and driving up Route 1, and I was amazed at all the for sale signs on the undeveloped properties all along Route 1. So that area is definitely going to be developed in.
Yeah, this seems to be.
Future. It's already starting.
The nice part about it is through Sharon and the MAPC is they're going to look at the effects, and I have an email that says they're going to look at the effects of the traffic due to Plain Ridge on the town of Foxborough. They haven't got there yet, but they're going to after, I believe, a meeting in early June. So I'm looking forward to that, and then push forward on that to get a little bit more. We all think it's going to be an issue. I agree it's going to be an issue. And again, I agree it's going to be an issue whether Plain Ridge goes in or not, unfortunately. But we'll get some objective data from the local planning commission.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Just a question about the consultant. So the RFP that you're developing with Kevin, is that for Foxborough's version of the general impact consultant?
Yes, that is.
So that will take care of all those?
Yes, that is, yes.
And that should be funded by the state, correct? If we can. Reimbursable?
Put it this way, we can petition for funding from the state, and I'm actually looking forward to the committee identifying exactly how that process works. But I don't know if we necessarily would get enough money to fund the RFP. We've got an idea of what we need. There's a very small pool of money. I think it's $50,000 or something like that.
Okay.
It's very small for all neighboring communities. So I don't quite know how that process works, but hopefully the committee can dig it out. And then any stopgap funding in order to make up what we feel we need for an analysis, I try to scrape some of that out of the budget, and if there's any shortfall after that, we'd have to get a town meeting vote. So, it's going to be a dynamic process to figure out how to fund it depending upon how expansive the request is and what the quotes come in at.
David, all right?
Yeah, thank you.
John?
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay. I really appreciate you guys coming in. Okay. Good hard work.
Not a problem, sir. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you again. When you want to meet with the board again, give us an update, please contact me.
When we have more solid information, probably as we develop later into the summer, we'll come back and brief you on that information.
And if you need a board, if you know there's a scheduled meeting like you do tomorrow night, if you want to advise the board that, I'm sure, I've gone to a meeting with James. I'm sure somebody else might want to, if we notified of a meeting, we might show up ourselves.
Okay, we'll try to keep you informed of any future meetings. So if
Did you get the time and the location of that meeting tomorrow night?
it's 7:00 at the Wood School on Route 106, at Route 106 in Plainville. I'm not really sure where that is, but I'll have to find it. So.
Yep, Wood School's on the right, going to the center, yep.
Okay, right before you get to 152.
Yep.
Okay, I know. where
And
it
that
is.
is a public meeting.
It is a public meeting. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Kevin, moving on, do you have a quick status report on the sexual abuse prevention policy?
Yeah, Just to recap, the board asked that we find a subject matter expert. We did, it has taken some time because we had some folks that were on board and then couldn't and back and forth, but finally, we got someone. I don't want to mention the name tonight, but we're going to have this person meet with you. I believe your first meeting in June might be the second. This person actually is a national lecturer, and they're away, I believe, tonight on a national speaking tour. She's already done some work on the policy, amending it, and we've incorporated those changes. So when this person is available, we'll present the board with the new policy. That'll go out Friday prior to. And then she'll meet with you and go over those changes. We've also identified a training module. Vicki Lowe and Cindy have both done some great work. This is an online training module that covers a couple of hours. So right now, we're figuring out how we could do this with employees, what it costs, all the logistics of trying to do it. But it looks like it's even more on point than the Darkness to Light program, which was excellent. But this looks like it's even more on point in terms of indicators, effects, steps to prevent abuse, and a lot of other related issues. So this looks like it's even better level of training. So we're still working through all that. That's what we're doing. And when it's on your agenda, we'll have a lot more detailed information and a new policy for you to look at, too.
And when that does come about, Kevin, it goes on the agenda, if we could have that policy in our packet.
Sure. In
So
fact,
we can review it before the meeting.
when will it be ready?
It'll be ready weeks before the meeting, but I didn't know how soon before and have the.
Will it be ready next week?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can actually send it to you next week, which will be well in
Well,
advance.
it'd be nice to have hard copies too. I mean, if you can leave them in our packets or.
Yeah, sure.
That'd be great. Any questions from the board?
Just something that was mentioned at the last meeting, that it was said that all our town employees have taken the Darkness to Light program, and I get a lot of calls after that. Is that the case, Cindy? That
Cindy,
all the-
could you come to the mic so that people, you sound like an echo back there, I'm sure, back at home, for all the six
They're
people.
over there, ready to-
Whichever you like,
Yeah.
all the 6 people that are watching us.
All right,
You
so
know,
what do you need
it
to
was,
know?
it was said that the second step is, this manual on how to identify or how to see it, that all the town employees have taken the Darkness to Light program. And I'm
Okay.
finding out that a lot of town employees have not taken it. And
No.
and a lot of people are offended listening to that. Is that a misunderstanding, or is there only certain people that have taken that?
Yeah, I think I don't know how it's misunderstood, but I think it was offered to all of the employees. Funny
Well,
enough.
let me try this, because I don't even think you were here when we did it, because I think it was last year.
It was you, Kevin.
Yeah. I mean, you may know better than me, but my memory is this. I believe we offered it to all town employees. Now, a lot of town employees are what's called required reporters. I may have the term wrong, but
Mandated reporters.
mandated reporters, and they receive a much higher level of training. So, and among those mandated reporters, teachers, rec workers, police and fire, they receive a much higher level of training, and there's an overtime implication for some of them to attend any training. So I don't frankly know if any of them attended or not. Teachers, I think they did have a presentation during their in-service. We offered a program here once or twice.
Twice.
And
Twice to my knowledge.
Twice. And I know we had a lot of, I think all the department heads attended, quite a number of the non-department head staff attended. So, I mean, that's what I recall. It was like, I think it was a year ago, so my memory may be a little fuzzy, but that's what I can remember.
I think we need to be a little sensitive, because it was stated that all town employees took the course or the training, and we were the only town in the state to do that.
Well, I think I'm the one who said that, and what was reported back to me by the fellow from the Y who does the training, could be mistaken. It's been a long time, so I didn't know the question was going to come up. But I thought he reported to me that no other town had made the level of effort that we had made with the offering it to all town employees, doing it on town time. This is all done on town time. We had to do it in a way so that we didn't close the building in order to do it, because that would shut down operations, so which is why I think we did 2 sessions. We split it so people could take one session or the other, and we could still keep all the offices open. But if there was an employee who wanted to take it and wasn't given the opportunity, that's news to me, because my directive to all department heads was to offer it to all town employees. Now, because of the nature of the training, I don't think we can require an employee to take it. I may be mistaken in that, but I don't think we can. But as I say, we had great participation, and I'm told the school did their own thing and had tremendous participation. And I think Vince, I think was his name?
Tony Calcia?
Tony, I'm sorry.
Tony Calcia.
I thought Tony told us that we had made basically a more extensive effort than any other community. So that's about what I know, but if you need more detailed information, we'll be happy to get it.
Well, I did attend one of those sessions, and I think what I recall him saying is the community itself, there were a lot of participants by the community. He didn't say the town employees or anything like that. And there were the session I was in, I think there was maybe one person that I can remember that had anything to do with town government. And the rest of
we ran our own program.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying, and the rest of them were mothers and a couple of fathers thrown in.
Yeah, his goal, the YMCA's policy goal, is, if I remember this correctly, is to reach with the program, I believe, 10% of the population. The notion being, and I attended the training myself, the notion being that's the critical mass. If you can get that many people who attend the training and understand it, then it has a multiplier effect in terms of awareness and prevention. And I believe 10% was the critical number. So what I had offered to Tony was the availability of as many town employees to kind of jumpstart this thing as possible, because obviously with a substantial number of town employees involved, we're well on the way toward that goal of community awareness. And then the superintendent of schools, Deb Spinelli, made a similar offer. And I think between the school employees and the town employees who attended, we had a tremendous head start in reaching the WISE goal in terms of total percent of the community that sees the program. And I think that's what Tony was commenting about, the very cooperative effort that we made. But again, a year ago, that's the best I can remember. But, probably best to talk to Tony, see what Tony has to say.
All right, anything?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kevin, for the update. Okay, we've already done action tonight, so I guess we'll go right into executive session to negotiations with non-union personnel, and then come back into regular session solely to adjourn. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor? Roll call, Jim?
Yes.
Ginny, yes.
Jenny? Right?
Yes.
He's got chairman's disease.
Yes.
It's not the chairman's disease. Mark Sullivan, yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.